Hey everybody, what's up? This is the Rhett Fever podcast. This is my friend Brandon. Is
What's
it
up?
Brandon Puff?
It is Brandon Puff. Puff,
Wait,
also known as
I
Puff
didn't
the
I
Magic
didn't
Dragon.
realize. Is that your real name? I didn't
It's
know.
a real name. It's a real one. It's
Wow,
not fake.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's German apparently
Wow.
too. It means to push or shove. So the Puffs were very
Oh,
aggressive
okay.
people. They were very, very aggressive.
See, but wait, why back in the day they
Yeah.
would call a puff like a gay person?
Yeah. No, I'm very lucky I wasn't born in England because they still kind of do call people
Oh,
that in
that's
England.
right. That's an English
I would have
thing.
been bullied immensely if I had been born in England. They would have, oh man, I would
Well,
have
they
cried
probably
so
would have
hard.
changed the name.
They might have. I mean, Puff is a European-based name, so I'm sure there's a couple Puffs out there in Europe, and I feel awful for them. They're probably not doing too well. The German ones maybe are
Wow.
fine, but yeah, it was
Wow,
probably
that's
pronounced
interesting.
Poof. That was the German Poof. Franz on
Wow,
Poof. You
that's
know,
funny.
is Saver
Um,
Italian?
Sever is, I guess, Norwegian. It's actually Sejur or Sure or something. I don't know, but they
Okay,
Americanized it to Sever.
yeah,
It was
so that way
S
they could
S
get a
J
job.
U R. Yeah, it was SJUR, and
Gotcha,
that was my
gotcha.
grandpa who fought in World War One. They
Oh
took that
hell yeah,
name.
that's pretty cool.
No, I was gonna say how we met doing stand up open mics in New
Hmm.
York City. I don't know, just to give people background. And yeah, so you were just always interesting because you would do characters.
Hmm.
Like, what kind of inspired you to do different characters in stand up?
Probably Pablo Francisco is one of the earliest ones because he's a comedian who has, I think he only has one act that he's been doing for like most of his career, but it's a really funny act, or at least it was when I first found it. And it's him just doing a bunch of like characters and voices. He does like the movie guy voice, he does like sound effects and things like that. And I always found that super fun. And yeah, just characters are fun to do.
Okay.
You know, I'm
Oh,
doing them
I
more now
weird. I
because I'm
haven't
just
heard of.
like,
Where did you hear of him? Like,
I remember
how's he
finding him on
famous?
like YouTube clips when I was younger because you would, the first one I
Oh,
found was like Carlin. And I was like, oh man, I should look up more stand-up stuff. And then I found Paulo Francisco. I think it was just like a 10-minute clip of his. And he was really funny. And then there was also this weird thing in high school that I discovered, which was clips of like Naruto, the anime. And then they would put stand-up comedy over it. So they would make it look like the Naruto characters were doing the bits and the act outs. It was very strange, but I loved it. I was
oh,
entertained
interesting.
immensely by that.
Okay. Yeah, that reminds me of like the first Woody Allen movie was actually a Japanese movie that he
Mhm.
just wrote jokes over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he basically wrote a script for actors to say as if they're saying something else, but it's completely unrelated. It's just, whatever is funny in
Mhm.
English based on their actions.
Yeah, so he would dub over it basically.
Yeah, so it's just a bunch of jokes about how they're doing something that and it doesn't make sense to the, you
Nice.
know,
So it's like Kung Pao
um,
Enter the Fist then. Did you ever see that
is
movie?
that what that is that what that is? Or?
Yeah, that was Dana Carvey, and he took like this old Chinese kung fu film, and then inside of it, they did it a little more complex. So they would dub over it, but then they also added clips that they themselves filmed to try and make a cohesive story with it. So it was like clips that they shot in that format of like Dana Carvey as a karate student, and then they would impose it with the kung fu movie that they were stealing from, that they were dubbing over. It was really funny. It's a really good comedy. It's a little,
Um,
it sucks in certain parts, but it's still pretty funny in other areas.
was that like in the 80s or?
No, I think it was like 90s, early 2000s, called Kung Pao Enter the Fist. It has like a scene where he's fighting
Oh,
a cow. It's got like really bad CGI. It's really fun though.
oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so I was gonna ask you like, what are your top handful of movies, like
Mhm.
without thinking, your favorite movies that really affected you?
Um, Probably the biggest one when I was younger was Princess Mononoke, which was like an animated film.
Oh yeah.
Because that used to play on Cartoon Network a lot. And I remember anytime it would come out, I would just sit there and watch the entire thing. And it would still have commercial breaks in between, but it was like one of my favorite movies at the time. I think it was one of the first movies I started rewatching a bunch as a kid. And I'm trying to think what else, because there's not too many movies that stand out a whole lot. I do like Django Unchained a lot. That one's a great movie.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
like my favorite Western. It's so good. I think it's
Okay.
one of his best movies
Yeah. Yeah.
for like Quentin Tarantino. Um, what else? Die Hard. I like a lot of those like really dumb, corny 80s action movies. Die Hard's probably my
Okay.
favorite, you know,
Okay.
like especially when it's self-aware. And I feel like Die Hard has to be a little self-aware. I mean, it's not.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I've never heard people analyze it that way. Like, so you think they're kind of making fun of themselves in a way as
In
an
a
action?
sense, yeah. Well, because that's also
Okay.
that was the turning point for a lot of those action movies where the main character wasn't like uber duper macho. Like he's still macho in a way, but he's also like more playful. He's kind of like Spider-Man in a sense, where he's like joking around while he's fighting with these guys and stuff like that. And they kind of do that
Oh, okay.
in
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger movies and stuff like that, but I don't think that happens until a little bit later.
Yeah. So like they kind of were taking themselves too seriously, like in
Yeah.
70s, 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think the action movies were kind of born out of that. Like the 80s and 70s ones were born out of like those super serious detective cop shows where they're like running through the mean streets of Chicago and they're like roughing up the suspects and like surviving all this
Yeah, and I
stuff.
didn't realize that it was very serious,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Yeah,
didn't
like,
really bring humor into that until later
yeah, because I
in
think
like a
I'm,
mainstream sense.
yeah, it just naturally evolved that way. Because like it started off with TV shows. I don't know if there was any ever big action movies in the 60s. I mean, there was definitely like detective movies and stuff like that. Like Chinatown was a big one. Um, and that was really popular for a while. But like I think the heavy, like machine gun toting action star came around in like the 70s or 80s. Definitely early 70s. I'm not sure what the first movie to do it was, but there's some pretty good
To
ones
do
out there.
what exactly?
Just like the over the top machismo, like heavy metal action star, where you got like Conan the Barbarian or like a guy
Yeah.
with a minigun just firing into the jungle, like those classic. I'm not a film
I
buff by
don't
any means. I'm just vaguely putting this all together.
right because I don't remember a lot of that in the 70s,
But what
right?
was like the first big action movie? Because I would say it's maybe Terminator, the first one, but that one's more sci-fi, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, but there has to be some kind of counterpart to that earlier. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I know I think it started around because it evolved from like those 60s detective shows. And then those became
okay,
like the Miami drug bust shows where you'd have guys with like
yeah,
Uzis and stuff. And I think
yeah,
that sort of just blended into the era of the 80s where everything was like super tough and cool and kick-ass. Yeah, because like Dirty Harry.
no, that's interesting. Like, because I never thought of that. See, I think it was because of just technology in general, where it's kind of like, how they started doing like the Marvel movies
Mhm.
recently, just because CGI has made it
Yeah.
so they can actually do them justice instead of like, because like, remember the early 90s Captain America movie? It's like barely
Mhm.
known, but it was footage from it was recently used because it's really just silly. And
Yeah.
what's really interesting about it is that it's J.D. Salinger who wrote Catcher in the Rye. His
Mhm.
son Matt Salinger is who's playing Captain America in that like
Oh.
really bad early 90s. It was the one where they took footage from it to make fun of it when the current Captain America is going to come out. So like
Oh,
people would
okay.
do jokes like, "Oh, look at this trailer for Captain
Yeah,
America,"
yeah.
but it
And
was
then they
just
would
some
show a clip from
shitty,
that original one.
yeah, just really bad because they didn't have any special
Yeah.
effects really.
I mean, they've been trying to do
Um,
superhero stuff for the longest time. Um, I mean,
right, but like,
superheroes were like around since the 60s, and I think they've been trying since then, at least with
well, I guess
Superman.
like the first one, yeah, was Superman in the late 70s, but even then, it's not like that great because the
Yeah.
special effects weren't,
Yeah, where he does
that
like the
great.
Superman symbol throw and he just throws it from his chest and it's like a glowy white and red and blue, and it gets like crumpled up in it. It looks bad. It does, but it's still
Yeah,
fun.
but that's all they could do, and so that's why
Did
it's like
you?
they keep rebooting it when they get
Yeah.
better technology. So basically, what I was going to say is they did the same thing. I think with maybe in the 70s there just wasn't enough good technology, and that's why in the 80s they finally had all those like Conan the Barbarian, like all the basically the careers of Stallone, um, Schwarzenegger, Jacques Van Damme,
Yeah.
all those people in the 80s because, and I guess it makes sense because it's part of like that excess of the 80s, how things just became more crystallized and defined. Yeah, that's interesting. I never realized that before because I guess I don't really like those kind of movies, but no, but it's interesting still in terms of like a film history thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually be interested to hear Tarantino talk about this because he would probably know
Oh
way
yeah, he's
more
like the
about all
film
this
buff of
stuff.
all film buffs. He knows so much about
Yeah,
movies. If you ever hear him
I
talk
think
about it, he just keeps referencing
I
everything from the past.
no, yeah, I listen to like all the podcasts he's on, and I think it's because like he's I think somewhere on the spectrum of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
he
I
probably
think
is.
that's what makes it so he can retain all that information. Because that's how he
Yeah.
writes a script. He just because he has all this in his head already. Because he even says about how like he'll remember a conversation and then just to like note it for like a script.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
And also just
yeah.
like his good he's got really good instincts. Like I recently found out that the scene from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where like Leonardo DiCaprio is blowing the flamethrower and his character's like, "Can we do something about that heat? Can we get that? It's too hot." That's like an actual reaction from Leonardo DiCaprio that he just decided to put in the film, which is great because
Yeah,
it's
because it's
hilarious.
real. Yeah, because it's real.
Yeah, and he just knows how to cut things in very appropriately. And every movie that he does feels like significantly different. Like it all has his own unique flair, but they're all pretty unique in their own way. And they're all like period pieces in their own sense too. Like you have Inglorious Basterds, which is like based in World War II, and then Django Unchained is like slave era, and it's like a Western too.
Yeah, yeah.
Hateful
Like
Eight was good.
the second half of his career is like a period piece because like the
Mm-hmm.
first half takes place when he shot it, basically in the 90s. They're modern day movies like Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Kill
Mm-hmm.
Bill. They're all modern. And then after that, well, I guess also Death Proof is modern. But then
Yeah.
his last four movies are all, he basically was like, okay, I'm sick of now. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
explore the past in
Yeah.
his way. Yeah, I thought that was cool. And it's almost like planned it or meant to do that because he's done period pieces like the last half.
Yeah. Well, and with that, each one is like its own individual subject of that period. Like I guess Inglorious Bastards is kind of focused on Nazism, or at least like that's the focus is like that whole struggle with the Nazis and World War II. So it's like that's the focus on that is World War II. And he explores it through the characters, through like the violence of it, I guess, which is a very unique way to do it. But it's also the way he does it. He usually explores things through violence. Hateful Eight, that was like after the Civil War. That was after
Yeah,
the country was like very torn apart, I guess you could say, and people were still kind of mending from that. So that was a focus on that. And
yeah.
then
Like I
Django was
like the thing with the
slavery.
Lincoln letter.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
Yeah. I was rewatching that recently, and yeah, just
Yeah,
the
I
opening
watched it.
scene.
I watched the one on Netflix because I hadn't seen the like the 4 episode miniseries version on
Mm-hmm.
Netflix.
Yeah,
That's really cool because it has like all the extra stuff
yeah,
that
because I
he
think
had to
the
edit
original
out.
version of it was going to be super, super long. I think the first version is what, like 3 hours, maybe, or 2.5. It's
Yeah,
pretty close to
there's
three.
yeah there's three versions where there was like the regular theater version, which is I think
Mm-hmm.
like 2.5 hours,
Yeah,
and then there's the 70 millimeter roadshow version that was
yeah.
a throwback to that kind of releasing of the movie. That's like 3 hours, and
Yeah.
then the 4-episode miniseries on Netflix is like 3.5 hours. So like each version just adds a half hour. There's like
hmm
3 different versions.
Yeah, and there's a part that I like in that movie a lot. It's after they have that big argument, and then it's like Quentin Tarantino himself narrating it, and he's going over how
Yeah.
Daisy Domerdew poisoned the coffee, and it's like, oh, that's great. And just the cabin itself, that's a great setting. Just the set for that is perfect.
Yeah, I think that was a reference to like how sometimes I think detective movies or TV shows would like explain things just in
Oh,
case people miss something.
yeah, because people weren't
Yeah,
fully versed on everything back then. I think people were definitely overall as a species pretty stupid. We're still very stupid, but they were, I think, not fully there quite when TV first
yeah.
came out.
And I thought that was interesting when he did that because like that's kind of ballsy because
hmm
it kind of could, take people out of it if they don't realize, which I think a lot of people don't realize, like that he was kind of referencing how they used to do that a long time ago, but I'm sure not a lot of people remember that.
Yeah, where you get like a guy with a smoking pipe kind of walking around the room, deducing everything for the audience. Like,
Yeah,
and then old Mally came over here and shot him in the face with this gun right here. It's like a good way to add 10 minutes to the TV show while also making sure everyone understands what happened here.
I know what the modern day version of that, which is really annoying, is when, and maybe one of the reasons I can't watch these new reality shows,
Mhm.
they recap it every commercial break. They
Yeah.
recap it like I got it. You recapped it 5 times now.
Yeah. They just
I
got to
don't
keep recapping.
I don't know why are they doing that? Just because they think people's attention spans are that shot? Maybe they are. I don't know,
Yeah.
but like it's
I
really
think they are.
weird
Well,
because
because
I
I
get
heard
impatient.
something.
Then
Mhm.
it actually it's the opposite effect on me because I get because maybe my attention span isn't completely shot. So when they keep recapping it, I get impatient. It's like I know this. Like move on.
Mhm. Yeah. Let's get to the
And
next thing. Show me the next thing.
it's I can't.
Well, I heard that Netflix is trying to design shows that are like perfect for watching while you browse your phone, that you're kind of like half paying
Oh
attention to.
my god.
So I heard that's like the thing they're trying to create now. It's like movies and television shows that are like entertaining, but you don't need to like
Oh,
be super invested in them to know what's going on. You can be like on your
that's
phone
so
browsing it.
stupid.
Yeah, but
Who would
apparently
want to
that's,
make that?
I guess, just the
Oh, let's
people
make
that
this
are,
thing that
yeah,
nobody is paying attention to.
yeah. Well, no, they pay
That's
attention
so
to it,
fucking stupid.
but they pay attention to it like not actively. Just it's sort of in the background, something to watch while they're doing, one or 100 other things. And I guess you can kind of see that with some of the recent ones that came out, where it's all just kind of like action and very basic exposition, and the stories aren't super duper
Which
complicated.
one?
Just any of them. There's like the one with the zombies in Las Vegas, where it's like a group of ragtag guys going to Las Vegas to break into a bank vault and also kill these
Oh, wait, is that
zombies.
that's the Zack Snyder one?
I think it's Jack
Um,
Snyder.
I thought it was something to do with here. Which the what was it? The Bruce Campbell fuck.
Oh, like Dawn of the Dead, that thing?
Army
Or
of Army of
Army
Darkness.
of Dead. No, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
but it's
yeah.
Army of
It's
the
titled
Dead.
that.
See, yeah, that's
Army of the
why.
Dead.
Yeah, but it's called yeah. I thought it was a remake or a continuation of Army of Darkness, but
No,
it's
it's got
just
nothing to do
because
with that.
no, I know it was just because of the title. Yeah, it's Army of the
Mhm.
Dead. Okay, so it's a zombie thing. This is crazy because okay, Zack Snyder is just like the Hollywood shill
Yeah,
to
basically. I
make
mean,
all
he's
their
just
big.
putting his stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, he would just do like sports documentaries before this and
Was
like
he? He's
and
not the
like
guy that
music
did
videos.
300, is he?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he did
The
300,
first one,
Watchman.
the first movie he remade, Dawn of the Dead,
hmm
and
Is
then
that
he did 300, and then
is that the
Watchmen.
For Dawn of the Dead, is
Watchmen
that
was
the
okay.
one? Yeah, Watchmen I liked. Was Dawn of the
The
Dead the
remake,
one where they're like in the mall? They're trapped inside the mall.
I think, but I don't know if he remade it like that.
Okay. Because
But
there was
no, that's
one version of it that I watched that came out like early 2000s. That was good.
yeah, that's his the remake.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That one
That's
was
his
good.
first movie.
Hmm.
And but no, it's just like the Superman. Well, I
Yeah.
don't know. I haven't seen the new Superman one. I think I just want to see them because Amy Adams is in them.
Amy Adams? Oh yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
she
she
plays
plays the
Lois Lane.
Lois Lane, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that movie was good. I liked the Superman that he came out with. Some people didn't like it. I thought it was fine. It was a little dark and broody, but I think that's just most of the DC stuff they're trying to make.
What is David Bautista famous for?
He started off as a wrestler. He started off in the
Oh
WWE.
yeah,
He played
that's
like
right.
a barbarian kind of like warrior, like a savage berserker. That was his character in the WWE. And then I think his acting career kind of jumped off with Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that was his first big role that people liked him for.
Okay. Well, no, just because it's weird because that movie like it takes place in Las Vegas, like which is like
Hmm.
the most like um the biggest symbol to like capitalism, commercialism,
Yeah.
you know, and then it's like zombies and
Hmm.
kind of like we're just zombie consumers, and then it's Zack Snyder, so it's like is he parodying himself?
Yeah, he could be. I mean, when I watched it, it was
I
like,
don't know.
was this? I couldn't tell
It's
if it was
kind of funny.
parody or just, I think it's just an action movie, but it felt like one of those movies where you could watch it on your phone or be on your phone while you watch it and not really miss a whole lot because there wasn't a
Oh my
very
god.
complex plot. And it's fine. It's a zombie movie. It doesn't need to
It's
be
just
super
action.
complex. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
action. And then there's like betrayal. And then there's like the stakes are heightened and it all feels very formulaic. And it's like, it's a cool backdrop. It's Las Vegas, but it's like Las Vegas in a desert, like so it's like an apocalypse, there's sand and fallen buildings and some of the zombies are go-go dancers, so it's fun in that respect. But I can't really tell you the specifics of the plot. I think it was like something to do with they had to retrieve a zombie specimen to make for a military weapon, which
Yeah.
is the plot for a lot of the movies nowadays, is that the military is trying to weaponize whatever the like MacGuffin is, because they did it in Jurassic Park, remember, where they're making militarized dinosaurs as weapons, which I don't
Yeah.
think would work at all, really.
Which is weird because we're using, we're going to war less and less. So
Hmm.
it's like they're weaponizing it for what? Like, who are we fighting?
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I
and I
mean? Like,
remember like in the early
it's so
2000s, it would
weird.
just be generically be terrorists. You're like, we got to fight the
Yeah.
war on terror by turning these dinosaurs into combat machines. That
Yeah.
would be a cool Jurassic Park movie. Terrorists in Jurassic Park, and then they let the dinosaurs out, and then they have to fight them. But the
Uh,
dinosaurs are like patriots, so they're trying to stop the terrorists.
oh, but then also they let them loose almost like a, what do you call it? Hunger Games
Yeah,
kind of a
well,
thing.
they
Yeah.
they do it because they're that's their like terror attack. Is they go to Jurassic Park, they blow up the glass enclosures, and then they just seek chaos out onto the park, and then they got to survive, and you know, or you could change it around. Dinosaurs could be
Oh, you
like,
mean the terrorist attack is letting the dinosaurs free?
yeah, but then they also they fuck themselves over because now they can't get out, and then they have to team up
Right.
with
Like a
like
nuke
maybe some,
bomb.
yeah, and maybe they team up with like the Americans, and they realize, we're not so different after all. We just all want to survive these
So
dinosaurs.
like the dinosaurs being let loose brings the
Hmm.
world together. Like
Exactly,
like an alien attack.
exactly. It brings
Well,
us together, huh?
Maybe that's what the new movie is about. The third one, the third Jurassic World.
Have they shown a trailer for it yet or no?
No, I think it's like a teaser clip. It
Okay.
has like Jeff Goldblum talking like his like voiceover talking about
Hmm.
how he's starting to analyze it like, oh, you guys did this and you did this and oh, now you're in this mess,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
kind of
He's
like
like
what he
speaking
did in the
before
first
Congress.
movie,
Hmm.
because now they brought back him and Laura Dern from the original.
Of course, because they got to bring back the originals. That's how they get like the internet hype. They're like, they're bringing them back.
But I don't know,
Bringing 'em
it
back.
looks really good. I want to see it because this is like where the dinosaurs have now gone, all across the world and they're free everywhere. And
Oh,
now the
and they
world
got to
has to
deal with
deal
that.
with wild dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah,
That'll be
it'll be
fun.
interesting.
I'm sure that'll be. I'm curious to see what the villain is. Maybe the villain is somebody who's like, yeah, no, we got to kill these dinosaurs. This is bad
I
for
think it
public
would have been
safety.
released already, but because of COVID, it was
Mm,
delayed.
yeah.
One of
COVID pushed
those.
back a lot of stuff. Pushed back the new Bond movie. I saw that. That was one
That-
that took
yeah,
like
was
3
that
years to
good?
come out. I didn't, not really. Not my favorite Bond movie. Not even one of my favorite action movies. It just took so long. It was a very, very long movie. And Rami Malek, who plays like the main villain in that one, he's in it for like 15 minutes. He's like barely in it.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it wasn't very, and it's like a big build up for nothing. And the story doesn't really make much sense. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. You know, you have to like know a lot of the other movies to know what's going on in this one.
So they probably made it so people could be on their phone.
Yeah, exactly. So they could be on their phones in the theater
Yeah.
playing the James Bond phone game.
I know I've thought about like the future of film and how like I think it just seems like in the future, I don't know, like maybe not many films will be made and it'll all just be these short TikTok videos. And
I think it'll.
I don't know.
I mean, that's there. There's definitely gonna be more of
I'm
that, but I
talking
think.
about like when we're dead. Like
Yeah.
way in the future.
Oh, if we're talking way into the future, I think it's gonna be more like the metaverse stuff, where like the Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse thing, where it's like a virtual world you can live inside of. I think it'll be that, but it'll be like a combination of movie and video games. You're not just gonna watch a
Yeah,
movie;
like
you're gonna
Ready
be in
Player
a
One.
movie. Yeah, you're gonna live
Have you
like
seen that movie, Ready
stories.
Player One?
I have seen parts of it. I'm aware of it. They got like the
Yeah, it's
headset
like
up, and
basically
they're
the
like,
world is
mhm.
everybody's just waiting to go play their video game.
Yeah, they're waiting to go into the
And
virtual
they
world.
live in this dystopian world.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty
So
close to that already.
crazy.
People browse the internet all day. I do that for sure. Um,
It's fucking scary.
yeah, I mean, you're never going to be able to comprehend what the world's going to be like in 100 years. So it's definitely going to be weird. I'm sure if either of us make it to like age 80, we're going to be just fucking terrified of the outside world.
I know we're gonna be like every other generation, like the old people now
Mhm.
are just thinking about like these crazy young people are fucking up the
They're
world.
crazy.
We're gonna be the
They're
same way. We're gonna be old men
yeah.
thinking that the young world is fucking themselves up.
Yeah, or maybe we won't. Maybe
Like
because
nothing
we're
really changes.
self-aware of that,
Yeah.
we might feel that instinct naturally, but then we'll be like, wait a minute, I know what this is. This is just me getting old. I'm just becoming an old
Right, where
MacGuffin.
nothing changes. It just, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I just don't
In terms
understand
of
the
the
world around me
dynamics
anymore.
of generations.
Yeah. I think I'll be one of those cool old people, hopefully. That's what I hope, where I'm just like, hey there, kids. And they're like playing on their VR headset in the park, but they don't really notice me because I'm an old man. So I'm like, oh, can't even have that.
It's crazy. But what are like some more like classic movies you like?
Classic movies. Cool Hand Luke is really good. Ninja Scroll, that's kind of a classic. That was like one of the
Ninja
first anime
Scroll?
movies. It's an
Never heard
anime
that.
movie. Yeah,
Oh,
it's like a fun little action thing, but it was like the first thing to come over to the US that like normalized anime, or at least popularized it. Other old school movies. I know there's a lot more. I just can't think of them right now. I really like the Twilight Zone, like the old school Twilight Zone. That stuff was really good.
yeah.
That was like I watched a lot of that during the pandemic. They have a lot of good episodes of that.
Yeah. Like like just those classic endings. Like
Yeah, where
all
they're
the
just
quick
like,
endings are
yeah, and it's like very minimalist because even though it's a sci-fi show and like there's paranormal stuff, they gotta work with the constraints of their time, but they pull it off really well. Like there's an episode where um like this church has trapped Satan in a room and he's trying to convince this one person to let him out. And it's just like a whole like dialogue dynamic because that's all it was. All you had to really go on was the dialogue.
Oh, I didn't hear that episode. There's a Satan episode of the
Hmm.
original?
Yeah, in one of the old ones,
Wow. I didn't see
this
that.
lady goes to a church and the priest there is like, we've captured evil in that room. Do not let him out, no matter what he says. He will use any trick to get himself out. And then
Right.
she starts talking to him. He's like, they've been torturing me. Please, I just want to get home to my family. And the whole episode is her like sympathizing with him. And then she finally lets him out. And then he's like, ah ha ha, I am Satan. Ah, and then he leaves. And they're like, you stupid,
Right,
stupid.
because they're
Let him
basically
go.
saying that like evil comes in all forms, like don't be tricked by its manipulation.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of like the message of it overall is like, yeah, don't like the
Mm,
devil, he'll pull wool over your eyes and all that stuff,
yeah.
and sometimes evil can be anything. I
Which
guess
is
that's what you're trying to say.
basically, for me, it's a way for religion to just like excuse, or to make an excuse to not accept things that are actually nice and good, but to them it's like,
Hmm.
no, that's a manipulation. Like just for example, people who just like to have sex for fun, but like,
Hmm.
it's safe and everything's fine, you know that's actually okay, but to
Yeah,
them, like, no, that's just a manipulation.
yeah,
Like,
they're like, no, no, you're trying to
whatever.
corrupt us, you're trying to
Yeah,
touch our inner thoughts,
yeah,
trying to
when it's
scratch at
like,
us.
both, and there's good and bad in everything, but they
Yeah,
just
and
are
it's
very
more than just
narrow-minded.
the mechanics of it. There's a lot more to it than that. And I guess that works too, because I mean, in that episode, it's like the priest arguing with the woman about the guy inside of there. And it could be deemed as like how the priest or whoever that character is supposed to represent sees the worst intentions in everyone. Because that's what he's viewing the guy in the room as. He's like, nope, nope, no matter what he says, he's up to no good. And then the woman is kind of like more naive. I guess you kind of have like a more of a middle ground, I guess you could say, depending on the kind of message they were trying to get across.
Yeah, so did you see like all the new Black Mirror? I saw some of those,
I didn't like any of the newest season.
because that's kind of like the new Twilight Zone, but you don't think it's as
Hmm.
good?
So I liked every single most of every episode I liked up until the newest season where they had like the Hannah Montana pop star episode and like a
Oh,
few
so
other
it was
ones.
just, it got bad this season.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know if they changed writers or what took place exactly, but it was really bad. It was not good at all.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Because I mean, they explored some ideas in it, but I just don't think it was very dystopian. I guess they tried to maybe make it a little happier. It just didn't feel like the theme fit. Because one episode's pretty funny. It's about these two best friends who start playing in this virtual reality video game. It's like a fighting game, and one of them picks a female fighter and the other picks a male fighter. And then in the virtual video game, they're like fighting, and then they start kissing, and then they start like having sex. So he's like cheating on his wife with his best friend in the virtual world, but
That's
then in the physical
hilarious.
world, yeah, it's hilarious.
No, that's what some gay porn is.
Oh,
It's like
really?
they'll start off fighting and wrestling, but then it
Hmm.
turns into sex.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably the
That's so
message behind
funny.
it was like the fighting game. And that's how it starts. They're fighting. He's like throwing her into a wall, and then they start kissing and making love. And then he's like, I got to stop this, man. This ain't right. I can't do this anymore. And then he goes back, and his friend's like, man, I've been trying everything. I even had sex with that polar bear character. Nothing feels as good as when it was with you. So it's more than just the game. It's like, it's a fun idea, but they just explore it in such a dumb way, I felt like. Um,
Wow, that's
yeah.
weird.
And then they eventually, like, the wife finds out, and they settle on him getting to sleep with his best friend like once a month, and she gets to cheat on him in the real world once a month.
It's so weird because it's like that doesn't even make sense. So basically, he's saying it's okay to cheat on my wife if it's with a polar bear. Like,
I
what?
guess, yeah. Well, the guy who's sleeping with his best friend, the one who wants it, he when his friend is like out of it, he starts trying all sorts of stuff. And I guess that's one of the things he confides in him. He's like, yo, I fucked that polar bear. It didn't even feel as good as with you. So it's like a dumb throwaway line. And it doesn't feel as dystopian. It just feels silly, you know, versus
Like
the
they
other
just
ones
did
where you
it for
got,
the joke. They
yeah,
did
like they
all
have
that
maybe
for a
an,
bad joke.
yeah, I guess. I mean, because they try to make it dramatic, and I guess it kind of is, but it didn't hit the same way the other ones did.
Yeah. I watched one just because Jodie Foster directed it.
Mhm.
The one where it's that app that makes it so you like I guess where you know where your kid is at all times.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that one?
Where she
But
gets
then
like,
it becomes nightmarish because then she knows that her daughter had sex or something,
mhm.
and then
Well, it's like
yeah,
the dangers of helicopter parenting, because the
yeah,
daughter gets even crazier, um, knowing that the mom is watching. So she's like, she goes off the rails. She starts sleeping around with like a bunch of dudes and doing drugs and just like rebelling. And then I think at the very end, she like knocks her mom out and she cuts out like the thing that her mom was using to watch her, and she just runs away from home. So now the mom has like no connection to her at all.
oh, that's right, and it's just like her like at a truck stop or something. Just
Yeah,
getting off at
yeah.
a truck stop. It's like just like the cliche runaway
Just like if you try to
scene.
keep them too close, they're just going to want to escape. Got to
Yeah,
let your bird fly, baby. You can't keep daughter in house forever.
yeah, that is weird. And then I saw the other episode where like you can't get away with crime
Mhm.
because they know, oh, because the detective can like read your thoughts or something.
Um,
Remember that episode?
yeah,
And
that's
then
one
because they
where they
kill
can look
somebody.
into your memories and see what happened for like
Yeah,
investigations. It's with the woman, right? She
yeah.
accidentally, first they kill a guy.
And they're trying
It,
to
it
hide
opened,
that.
yeah, and then like 10 years later, the guy's like, I'm coming forward with it. I got to talk. And she's like built a family now. So she's like, I can't do that. And she kills him. And then there's like an auditor that is trying to see her
Yeah.
memories. And then she kills her, and then it's just like a whole.
Which is almost like a more realistic version of the Minority Report
Mhm.
kind of scenario.
Yeah, it's like more feasible that you could look into somebody's memories and they would freak out.
But
There's also the one with like the two old ladies living in the virtual world right before they die, and then they
I
like
didn't see
find
that.
love in there. That one's pretty good. That
Oh,
one was like one of the happier ending ones. That one was nice. It's very
oh,
wholesome. The wholesome
because
ones are nice when they're done right.
because a lot of them are like they kind of end on a downbeat.
Yeah, they end on a bleak note, but then there's a few that they scatter in there that are like really like uplifting and
And then that
sweet.
becomes the twist in and of itself. Is the
Yeah.
twist is that it's
Yeah,
upbeat.
the technology doesn't always have to be this monstrous, terrible thing that's going to ruin our lives. Very well could be.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be though. Like, have you seen the Boston Dynamics robots? The ones that are like doing parkour now?
no,
It's pretty
that's a
terrifying to
real thing.
watch. Yeah, I think it's like one of the most advanced robotics companies in the world. Um, and they have this video where these human shaped robots just doing basically the Ninja Warrior test, where they're like jumping between boxes and doing backflips, and it's insane that they're able to do that. And this is only like maybe 15 years in.
Because you know what they're gonna do. They're gonna weaponize it for the military.
Oh, they already did. There was a like military expo where they took one of those robot dogs and they were like, let's put a sniper rifle on it. Now it has like a giant gun on its back.
Yeah, I saw something like that where there's like a robot that can like drag anything. What is
Mm-hmm.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Boston Dynamics robot. It's like this yellow dog shaped robot. And the idea with it is they give you like a very basic model for the robot, and then you can customize it any way you want. So it has like, you can program it to do basically anything. So cops have started using it as like bomb control dogs. Um, Other companies have started using it for like site inspection. So they'll set up these dogs to like take pictures of different gauges across like a factory. It'll like walk a certain route, take a picture, send the picture back to like the main guy so he gets to stay there. um, and then they're finally bringing it to the military, where they have the one dog that has a sniper rifle on its back, and I'm guessing it can fire it. I don't know, maybe not, it's hard to say.
Oh yeah, we were gonna talk about the Cool Hand Luke scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where I was just realizing that that movie, because I guess when I saw it a while ago, I wasn't, maybe I don't know, I wasn't in that perverted mind of
Yeah,
like
yeah, you were just
realizing how
innocent.
homoerotic that movie is.
Oh, it's so they're sweating constantly in that film.
Yeah,
There's
it's
just,
just a
it's
bunch of
hot.
guys
Yeah.
in mud
And it's Paul Newman too. Paul Newman is like, ooh, you know, he's just like sweating constantly, dripping, he's slapping at his shirt. Although there is that one scene, I guess, where they try to. Do you remember the scene where the woman comes out to like wash the car in front of them, and they're like going
Who
wild
comes
for
out?
that? There's just like this hot blonde woman. They're like
Oh.
doing road work. They're like digging a ditch, and then she comes out across the street, and she's just like wearing barely anything. She starts washing her car, and they're like, "Oh, boss, wiping down, boss, wiping down." It's like a very horny scene, very horny scene. Even as a kid, I was like, "This is a very horny scene."
So that was probably to torture them, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, in a way, I guess it shows like how
Like,
like sexually frustrated men in prison are, which
yeah,
then justifies why there's that big gay orgy scene at the end.
of the eggs.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he's eating the eggs, which are like
Mhm.
balls.
Yeah.
Well, even in Spanish, they call them huevos.
Yeah. So they're just sucking
Um,
down on these balls, and he's trying to see how many he can eat.
Yeah, and like rubbing his stomach and
Yeah, he's like, because he bet on him. He's like rubbing his tummy. He's like, "Come on, Luke, you can do this. Suck down another one." He's like sucking it down. And then the Luke and the other like tall guy, the one that he escapes prison with in the ending, they kind of become like lovers in a sense. You know, best friends, sure you could say, but they're like very close together. And he's like very sad when Luke dies at the end, you know,
yeah.
because he's lost him. And the final scene ends in a church. Are they getting married?
Oh, so it's all symbolic for like they're just trying to get away with the whole gay storyline without being gay.
Exactly.
Wow.
The prison is symbolic of society in that era. And Cool Hand Luke just wanted to be gay. That's why he's a rebel without a cause.
Yeah.
He has a cause, he just can't talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and the hand, the idea of the cool hand is
Mhm.
that, that's what you masturbate with. And
Yeah, or
everybody's
jerk
gay when they masturbate.
dudes off with in like a
Yeah.
cool way. Because back then you had to be cool first, and then the gay was like a secondary thing. You had to keep it like hidden. It's like that's old Cool Hand Luke.
Wow.
Or actually, no, I forget. I think they call him Cool Hand Luke because it has something to do with he's playing cards. He's playing like poker one night, and he has
Okay.
nothing. He's got nothing in his hand, but he's like he keeps a straight face, and he like has a good poker face. They're like, "You're Cool Hand Luke."
Oh,
So maybe that could be like him hiding his true identity, you know? Cool Hand Luke.
wow.
Telling
I
you.
think we figured out this movie.
I think we have. I think we've gotten pretty close.
Or you can just analyze everything to be gay because
Oh, yeah. I mean that would be a good podcast in and of itself. Is this movie gay? And then just the answer is always yes by the end of it after you've done analyzed it.
yeah. Oh,
Except for the movies
too.
that are gay. Those ones somehow aren't actually about being gay.
Yeah.
Like Brokeback Mountain has nothing to do with the characters being gay.
Yeah, it's so funny. I just watched that recently for the first time since it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it could be like our economy, just like capitalism is like incestuous.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, no, I'm trying to force it.
It's actually a story about how the cattle economy in Texas is dying or something. I don't know. I'm sure it's something about that. I mean, it's definitely more than about them just being gay. That's like the setting, but it's also just it's the character piece, you know? Do you think that movie
Well,
would still be good if Heath Ledger just played the
realized
Joker in it?
if what?
If Heath Ledger just did his Joker character in that film?
That'd be funny.
That would be pretty good. I'd watch it. But what did you realize?
What I realize actually now is that all the filmmakers of Brokeback Mountain, they're all straight except one of the producers is gay. Like that's kind of how it got made. Is the producer?
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to make it in the '90s, but then he became an executive so that he could finally greenlight it, and that's how it got made.
Okay. Very cool.
And it's like, but what's so funny is that all the people who wrote it, directed it, they're all straight.
Yeah, the ones
Even
that
the people
starred
who
in it and
acted
stuff.
in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's kind of weird. Like they're all patting them. But so like when you watch the making of, they're all patting themselves on the back, like, "Oh, aren't we so great for making this gay movie finally?"
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there's out of all the people making it, there's one gay guy.
Yeah, and it's the producer. The guy is just like
and but
funding it
they're all
basically.
straight.
Hmm.
That was kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, but at the time that was actually really progressive, right?
I
Because
know,
back then that
but
was like that
now
was the
looking
most
back
progressive thing.
though, it's kind of offensive. Like, well, couldn't you hire some more gay people? Like,
Is it offensive, or do we just think it's offensive because of like the new standards that exist now?
right? It's
Because
because
like if you go back to
that's
the
how
time that
we
people were
progress.
angry, like people were very angry at that movie.
Well,
And it was
you mean
also
the
just,
homophobic people were angry?
yeah, but I mean, most of America was like not on board with a gay marriage at all up until like recently, I feel like, right? Like wasn't it like only until like probably within the last 12 years that it became like more people became accepting of it, and like more people were
Yeah.
able to be like open and honest about it.
Yeah. I get because of the marriage laws changing. Yeah,
Yeah, and like other stuff in
it
the country too.
normalized it.
But like at that time, I know when that movie first came out, there was like a bunch of like that was on the news
Like
for at
it
least
was
3 months.
crazy. Like everybody couldn't believe this mainstream gay movie was made.
Yeah, yeah, this like
Like
big, and
even
it
the
was a
filmmakers
huge hit.
themselves, they couldn't believe it.
Hmm.
Like that's
Yeah,
kind of messed up. It's kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
weird.
It was also just like very, and it wasn't like a minor storyline because like some movies will like have a gay character
Yeah,
and they'll have
it
like a
was the main
sympathetic gay
characters. Yeah,
character,
that's
but
why
this
it
was
was.
like that's the whole. Yeah, it was like they were the stars. It focused on their relationship throughout the entire movie, and it also portrayed it in like a very honest way, which was cool.
It's just weird that now looking back on it, we see it differently, even though it wasn't that long ago. It's just weird how you still look at things differently, and
Yeah,
you never would have thought that's how we would see it now.
yeah. Looking back at like if you were
Is
there
like
watching it,
for
then you'd be
at
like,
the
"This is
time it had,
amazing."
yeah, at the time it had all this praise, it was amazing,
Hmm.
but now it's like you couldn't hire some more gay people. Like,
I'm sure there probably, you know what, there might have been at least one or two in there, but I wonder if any of them could have come out back then. I don't know.
you mean the actors? Like,
Maybe some of the actors, maybe some of the. I know Jake Gyllenhaal isn't, but I'm sure there was a few scattered in there, or maybe like even in the writers or directors.
I mean, I
Because like I think the directors of The Matrix, they came out as trans recently. Like that was something that they never, the Wachowski brothers, but now they're the
they have
Wachowski
to,
sisters.
they have to be like maybe the only trans mainstream director.
Yeah,
Like
Tim Burton.
they're
He identifies as spooky.
I thought it was
Yes.
interesting how one of the Wachowski, how they used to be brothers,
Hmm.
and then one transition, but then it took the other one a while. Do
To
you remember
like go
that?
in the same route.
Yeah, do you remember that? Like one of
No,
them
because I
transitioned
didn't.
years before the other one did.
No, I didn't learn about that until like recently, probably within the last year or two.
I thought that was interesting how they didn't do it at the same time. Like one
I
was
wonder
ready
if,
before the other.
yeah, maybe the other one just followed suit once they realized, like, okay, maybe that is what I am, or maybe they just took
But
a little
usually
more time
twins
self
do things
inspection.
together.
Yeah, but they were
But
probably like, well, we're not doing this together. We got to have something that
yeah.
we do separately.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's
They're
yeah.
like, I don't want to be the, I don't want to do the whole twin thing for our transition. I don't want to.
Yeah. So yeah, Brandon, this was awesome.
Yeah, this was a good
Awesome
time.
conversation. We
Good little
can,
movie talk.
but actually, yeah, me and Brandon have been talking about doing some kind of weird comedy podcast. So just, look out for that.
Comedy sheboygan of sorts.
Yeah. And so we'll be back. So thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Rhett. You have a good one.
Yeah.
All right, and then that's the show. Cool.
Yeah. So I stopped it, but all right.